Hi guys, here we have DUP spokesperson, GB News Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie, who was describing why Joe Biden is disliked within the unionist community and how the pushback he will receive from the likes of the DUP will be warranted if he tries to encourage the restoration of the Northern Ireland executive, which is of course a product of the Good Friday Agreement. Joe Biden is in Belfast on Tuesday to meet with politicians from all the main parties in Northern Ireland, and he will of course push for the restoration of the executive. Here Dougie seems to give a bit of a DUP spin to the story.
Well, good morning to you and welcome to Belfast. Belfast that you wouldn't recognise after 25 years of peace. All this behind me was at one time wasteland and docks, 25 years of peace, and we definitely do have a completely transformed Northern Ireland. It's not a perfect peace, but it is a peace, and we could see that yesterday, the dissident Republicans deciding to attack the police, but the police knew that this was coming. They had a press conference on Friday warning us that they suspected attacks were going to come to try and lure them in. That snatched Land Rover, of course, was a monitoring Land Rover. It had CCTV on top of it and is well used to taking that sort of punishment. In fact, the RUC, as it was here, now some of those officers train other police forces around the world how to deal with.
Why do you say RUC? It hasn't been called the RUC in about 20 years. Now, if he's referring to the past, the RUC used to send officers around the world to do training. Yes, that's correct. But refer to them by their proper name, the Police Service of Northern Ireland.
With that type of public disturbance. Well, that was all trying to grab headlines. Of course, we do have Joe Biden arriving here later on this evening. It's expected probably at close to 9 o'clock before Air Force One will come in. He will be met by Rishi Sunak. It's expected that he will have talks with all 5 political parties. But as it has been said, unionist parties here really know Joe Biden's past. They don't have that sort of trust in him. They know that he has more towards Irish America than he would with British unionism, and therefore is he going to be a fair broker for unionists to try and put them back into power?
Sort of weasel words here. They know his past. Okay, I'm not sure what he means by that, but it's not whether Joe Biden is an honest broker here. Joe Biden has no power over the DUP. The only people who have power over the DUP is the British government. They will decide whether the DUP get back into power. I covered it in a video recently where they were talking about giving them money. It's not Joe Biden who will force the DUP back into the executive. He can encourage them, he can plead with them, he can beg them, but he can't decide whether they go back into the executive or not. It really comes down to the British government. Are they going to give the DUP money? Is there going to be corruption here to convince them to rejoin the executive or not?
It is the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, but of course on the 20th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, Sinn Féin was out and Stormont was down for 3 years. So it seems every time that we have a big anniversary that, well, there is no Stormont there.
And here we have the DUP whataboutism. What about Sinn Féin? They suspended, they walked away from the executive some years ago. And notice that Dougie didn't go into any detail here because, the devil is in the detail. So why did Sinn Féin walk away? Well, at the time, the late Martin McGuinness was the Deputy First Minister, and there was a political corruption scandal. There was a corruption scandal over pellet, something about pellet or details about that. It was called the Ash for Cash scandal. And there were members of the DUP involved. The executive, Martin McGuinness, resigned in protest over it. And the executive collapsed. Then in order to restore the executive, the Sinn Féin demanded that there would be equality on the Irish language, and the DUP refused to get into government with Sinn Féin over that. So yes, the executive did fall, but it was based on two issues. It was because of two issues. One was corruption, and the other was language equality, which was eventually pushed through by the British government without the executive. So you're comparing a bit apples and oranges here, Dougie. So at the end of all of this, is Joe Biden going to be able to pressure the DUP into restoring the executive? No, he won't. He can't do that. This lies with the British government and Rishi Sunak. Are they going to give the DUP cash? They may do that. This is, of course, a benefit for Rishi Sunak politically if the DUP rejoin, because this is something that he can mark down as something that his predecessors, Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, were unable to achieve. So if he gets them back into the executive, he can do a victory lap and get a bit of a boost in the polls. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.